Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Lorraine Quinto y es un gusto para mí compartir con todos ustedes por primera vez en esta edición de Invitados BI. Sean todos ustedes bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos un gran invitado. Y sí, justamente como les mencionaba, hoy tendremos una transmisión muy especial porque tendremos a un invitado de lujo que ya pronto les estaré comentando de quién se trata. Pero antes, por favor, les pedimos que no dejen de seguirnos a través de las redes sociales, compartir el link de esta transmisión a sus amigos, a familiares, a personas que ustedes consideren que les podría ser bastante útil toda la información que les vamos a proporcionar el día de hoy. Síganos en nuestras redes sociales también para estar enterados de las últimas noticias que estaremos compartiendo con ustedes en las próximas semanas. Les comento que les tenemos una sorpresa muy especial. Estaremos regalando 5 pases dobles para la conferencia Trust and Inspire, cómo los grandes líderes liberan la grandeza de los demás. Este se estará llevando a cabo el 10 de octubre en el Hotel Westin Camino Real. Para participar, ¿qué es lo que tienen que hacer? Etiquetar a una persona y dejar un comentario de las razones o del por qué ustedes quieren asistir a esta conferencia. Y por último, también compartir esta transmisión. Tienen hasta el domingo 2 de octubre para participar, así que ya lo saben, el 10 de octubre en el Hotel Westin Camino Real se estará llevando la conferencia Trust and Inspire, y si ustedes quieren formar parte de ella, pues hoy estaremos regalando estos 5 pases dobles para que participen. Y bueno, para no hacerlos esperar más, el tema de hoy es liderazgo, una habilidad primordial que hoy en día, pues obviamente buscan todas las empresas y sus colaboradores. Es la capacidad de poder motivar, de influir, de inspirar, organizar y alcanzar metas y objetivos, pero hacerlo en conjunto, hacerlo en equipo. Es por ello que el invitado de hoy se titula liderazgo a otro nivel. ¿De qué manera podemos nosotros llevar ese liderazgo, toda esa motivación e inspiración a otro nivel? Nuestro invitado es orador y asesor de alta demanda en temas de confianza, liderazgo, ética y colaboración. Es el autor, oigan muy bien, es el autor más vendido del New York Times y el número 1 de The Wall Street Journal con la velocidad de la confianza. Y justamente hoy estaremos platicando acerca de la importancia que tiene la confianza en nuestro equipo de trabajo y por qué es tan importante también mantenerla. Sin más preámbulos, les quiero presentar a Stephen M.R. Covey. Es cofundador de CoveyLink y FranklinCovey Global Trust Practice, y en esta ocasión compartirá con nosotros tips y consejos sobre cómo inspirar y empoderar a las personas para que se conviertan en la mejor versión de sí mismas. Así que vamos a recibir entonces en estos momentos a Stephen, que ya está listo aquí con nosotros. Hi, Stephen. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Hi, Lorraine. It's wonderful to meet you. I'm doing great. And I'm very, very excited and happy to be coming to Guatemala shortly.
Nowadays, we have like this perfect tool to have the technology on our hands and to have this perfectly communication between us.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, we're hopefully having you here in Guatemala soon, right?
Yes, I'm excited to come in person. That's even better. As good as the technology is,
Yeah.
it's even better to be on site in person. And I'm excited and honored to be invited to present on this new book, Trust and Inspire,
Well,
because it's
thank you very much.
so
Thank
important for our new world of work.
Of course. Thank you very much to spend a little bit of your time here with us. To begin, I would like to ask you about what is the importance of taking care of the trust in all interpersonal relationships. I mean, in all relationships.
Yeah, it's simply because trust is the one thing that changes everything. It makes relationships work. I mean, the very definition of a bad relationship is when there's low trust or no trust. It makes teams come together. Without trust, you're not a team. You're just a group of individuals working on a project, but trust turns a group into a team. It makes organizations thrive because of how, when there's higher trust, you can collaborate better, you can innovate better, you can attract people better and engage them, even inspire them. And then also it's how you build great relationships with customers and with partners, because it's a relationship of trust. And so it really, I like to say that trust makes our world go round. And trust, I believe, has become the new currency of our world today. It makes everything work. Look at it this way. Take away trust and everything will slow down or even grind to a halt. So I like the expression by Warren Buffett. He said, trust is like air, like oxygen, air. And when it's present, we sometimes don't notice. But when it's absent, everybody notices. And so, without trust, nothing works. With trust, everything can. And I think that we sometimes take that for granted. We assume trust, we underestimate it, but it is impacting everything. And becoming deliberate and intentional about building trust is one of the most important things we can do as leaders today.
And it's interesting to know that trust is so hard to gain, but it's also so easy to lose. So we have to embrace it and to take care of the trust.
Absolutely. You're right on. It takes time to build because we have to build that relationship and it will take some time, but you can lose it overnight. You can lose it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we build relationships of trust, it is vital that we sustain that we maintain that we grow that. And that's part of what we'll be talking about in this session, is that building trust is actually something we can do intentionally on purpose. It's not just a byproduct of people working together. It is an intentional outcome that you can create when you understand how trust is built. And, through our modeling and through our credibility, our character and our competence, and through our behavior, how we interact with others and how we extend trust to others to build trust with them. So yes, it's critical to have it, and it's critical to grow it and to maintain it.
Of course. In such a changing world with so much uncertainty of the future, how does a leadership inspire others?
Yeah, this is part of this new book, Trust and Inspire. And it's saying that people today really want to be inspired. There's overwhelming data on that. A study was done by a global consultancy firm that looked at 16 competencies in leaders. And they asked people, which of these competencies matters the most to you from your leader? And the number one competency that the people wanted to see from their leader was this: a leader who inspires me. They wanted to be inspired. And so that's the great opportunity. Now, in a changing world, it's not easy to do this. And sometimes we have kind of conflated inspiration with charisma, with the idea that in order to inspire, you have to be really charismatic. But that's actually not accurate. I know some people who might be described as charismatic, but who are not inspiring. I know other people who no one would describe as charismatic, but who are very inspiring because of who they are and how they care and how they connect people and how they bring purpose into things. And so inspiring others is a learnable skill that we can create and we can establish and we can learn to do as a leader, to inspire others. And I'll talk about this in depth at this session, but I'll give you just a little peek. You inspire others when you first model the behavior that you would like to see. That inspires people. When they see humility, that inspires. Courage, that inspires. You inspire others when you trust them. The very act of trusting another inspires people. In fact, I'd put it this way: to be trusted is the most inspiring form of human motivation. It brings out the best in people. They want to prove the trust justified, and they also give it back to you. But here's the key thing I'll be focusing on. You can inspire others when you learn to connect with people through caring and through creating a sense of belonging. And by focusing on genuine caring and concern and compassion, that will inspire people. We know that expression, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Caring inspires, and creating a sense of belonging inspires. And we can learn to do that as leaders. We will also inspire people when we connect to purpose and to meaning and to contribution, so that what we're doing matters, that our work is significant and not just, going through the motions. There's purpose behind it. And so connect with people through caring and belonging, connect to purpose, to meaning, and to contribution. We can learn to do this as leaders. And in so doing, we can inspire. Everyone can inspire. It's a learnable skill. And we'll be going in depth on this when we have our session together.
Of course. And you know what? It's interesting because nowadays people try to look up for someone who's not afraid of. I mean, you don't want a leader that you are afraid of. You want a leader that you look up, that you admire. So those qualities are so important to be humble, to be in a certain point, to have some vulnerability, and to have like the ability to communicate what the group of the teamwork needs, and of course to be part of it and to be part of the job that you have to do every day. What role does confidence plays in leadership nowadays?
I think it's the single most important competency of a leader needed today is the ability to create trust and to create that confidence, because like I said earlier, it's what makes our world go round. It's what makes organizations work, especially today where we have so much change and disruption going on. If people can have trust in their leaders and have a relationship of trust and have a high trust team, high trust culture, they'll be far more productive. The data is overwhelming on this, that high trust teams and organizations outperform low trust ones by about 3 times. So greater performance, but they'll be also far more collaborative. You can collaborate far better with trust. Without it, it's hard. They'll be far more innovative. There's a study that shows that high trust companies are 11 times more innovative than low trust companies, because people are not afraid to take a risk, even make a mistake, as long as they learn. And so you innovate better, you collaborate better, you perform better, but also you will engage your people. They'll be more engaged. When you build that trust, they'll be more inspired. And then as a result, their well-being will go up. They'll be happier and there'll be more energy. And so every measure we want to improve will go up with trust. That's why I think it's the number one competency of leadership needed today, because it makes you better at every other competency. It's like a performance multiplier that makes you better at everything else that you're trying to do when there's trust. And for that matter, when there's low trust or distrust in you as a leader or in the team, in the culture, in the company, then everything else that we're trying to do is diminished, diluted, what I call taxed. So why is trust so critical in leadership today? Because it makes us better at everything else we're trying to do.
I want to separate the next question is how do you generate trust? How is trust generated not only by the leader, but also by the teamwork? I mean, how do you generate trust as a leader, and how do you generate trust to your leader as a teamwork?
Yeah. Okay, great. I like that you're asking this question about generating trust, because too often people kind of just think you either have trust or you don't. It's either there or it's not, as if it's just a byproduct. And I acknowledge that we might start with a level of trust, and it might be low, medium, high. There might be a starting point. But the main point of emphasis I'm going to give is that you can build trust on purpose, intentionally, as a leader, to where you create it consciously. And it's important to you, and you learn how to build trust in relationships and on teams and in an organization or with stakeholders. And you do it by focusing on your credibility, that's your character and your competence, your own trustworthiness. You can't have trust without being trustworthy. So we start with being trustworthy, but that's not enough to have trust. We still, in addition to being trustworthy, and that's demonstrating both our character and our competence, we also need to be trusting. We need to be willing to give trust to people. And that's almost a paradox, because you might think, well, what does that have to do with creating trust? But think about it. When you don't trust people, they tend to not trust you back.
Of course.
When you do trust people, they tend to reciprocate and return the trust.
It's a two-way street, right?
That's right. So as a leader, we have to be trustworthy and trusting, both. And the trustworthiness is modeling. We model the behavior. We model the humility and the courage. We model the character and the competence. We go first. We lead out with that. But we also, so we model, we are trustworthy, and we're trusting. We give the trust to people in smart ways, with expectations, with accountability, so that it's a smart trust, not a blind trust. And that's important. And then we can build it. And so that's how you build it generally. If I'm, to your second question, if I'm a member of a team, it is possible for even me to build trust up, because if I can, the more I work on myself, my credibility, my trustworthiness, my character and competence, as well as my behavior, and am I modeling behaviors of trust, such as talking straight and being transparent and clarifying expectations and demonstrating respect and listening first? Am I modeling these behaviors? Am I going first in it? The more I do that, the more credible I am, the more trusted I become. And when I'm more trusted, then I have more influence, not only with those around me and as part of my team, but I have more influence up too, because I'm a person that can deliver. I'm a person you can rely upon, count upon, and it's easier for me to build a relationship with trust when I am trusted. And so it's really the trigger of everything. It's the nice thing is it makes us all, we're all empowered. We don't have to wait on the boss. It'd be nice if everyone started with trust, but what we can do is we can all look in the mirror and start with ourselves and build self-trust as a foundation to relationship trust, as a foundation to team and organizational trust. It's inside out. So that's probably the main message I have, and is that we can become a trust and inspire leader today. And in a new world of work, with all these changes and all that's going on with the changes in the workplace, remote work, hybrid work, intentionally flexible work, so many generations at work, changes in the workforce with many generations, as many as 5 generations with completely different expectations of how they want to be engaged and led, with all these choices and options that people have, with disruption and technology. The world has changed. We need to make sure our style of leadership, our way of leading, has changed with it. The old model, I call it command and control, doesn't work very well today in this new world of work. The new model, trust and inspire, is relevant. It works. It's what people respond to. It's what they want. It's a better way to lead in a new world of work. And that's what we'll be talking about, how we become trust and inspire leaders and how we build a trust and inspire team and a trust and inspire culture so we can get better results, but also have great well-being and a great culture with our people.
And Stephen, now that you mentioned that, in your personal opinion, a leader is made or born?
Both. I think in many respects, they are reborn by the choices that they make. They can learn this and you can learn leadership. It's learnable. So in that sense, that is speaking to that they're made through their choices, through their scripting. And I acknowledge that there's some element to the idea of a born leader. There's some resonance to that some people seem to understand people. But I also know that it is something that people can learn. And right now that kind of needs to happen. People need to remake themselves as a leader because the old way of leading, command and control, even an enlightened version of command and control, is not going to work very well in our new world today. So maybe they have been more of a command and control style leader in the past, and they might need to remake themselves more of a trust and inspire leader in the future. So in that sense, they are re-scripting themselves, remaking themselves. That's why I think that ultimately I err on the side of more around that they can make themselves this through learning, through development. But I also acknowledge there's some element to having the instincts that come for people that we often describe as just a born leader. They tend to have an understanding of people and the importance of relationships.
Like a different attitude or personality, right?
Yeah, but it's learnable. And so, because again, just like inspiring is learnable, and you might think, how can you learn to inspire? Isn't that, surely that's something you either have or don't. No, it's learnable. You inspire when you connect with people through caring and belonging. You can learn how to do that. You inspire when you connect people to purpose, to meaning, and to contribution. You can learn how to do that. It's learnable. So that it's exciting. But there's, Marshall Goldsmith has that expression, what got you here won't get you there. And so what maybe we have done as leaders to get us to where we're at today is good. And that kind of leadership may not be what will get us to where we need to go tomorrow. And I think we need to shift our style of leadership to something that is more relevant for our time, for the change and the disruption, for the new world of work. And that is trust and inspire.
And also the new generations.
The new generations.
Totally different from the other ones.
Totally. And they want to be trusted. I like to put it this way, Lorraine. People don't want to be managed. People want to be led. They want to be trusted. They want to be inspired. Not just the younger generations, the millennials, the Gen Z. Yes, they do. But I even believe us older generations do as well. It's just a better way to lead. It brings out the best in people. And that's the subtitle of the book, is Trust and Inspire, How Truly Great Leaders Unleash Greatness in Others. It's bringing out the potential, the greatness inside of your team, inside of your organization. And that's, in a sense, what I think Banco Industrial does too. They trust their clients. You trust your clients. You extend that trust. Loans, that's an extension of trust.
Of course.
We trust you, but you're trying to help them unleash their potential, their greatness, which then builds the society, builds the communities, and it becomes a virtuous upward spiral of trust and confidence, security, creating more trust. And it's a beautiful thing. And we inspire each other when we trust each other. And so I think it's amazing what's happening to have this the session coming up with your clients and friends of the community, because it's an example of trust and inspire leadership in action with your partners, with your customers, and with the community.
Of course, Stephen, we've been talking about what qualities a leader should have, but what qualities a leader shouldn't have?
Yes. Ego and arrogance and pride, extreme pride. Not it's good to be proud of your company, but a personal, arrogant pride instead of humility. When someone is arrogant and has excessive ego, it's hard to be able to talk with that person. They view everything as a threat to their authority, to their ego. So you can't, oftentimes they just get told what they want to hear.
Of course.
They operate on the basis too often of fear, not an inspiration. Whereas if you model a humility and an openness and a vulnerability, a transparency, it actually builds trust. That doesn't mean that you're weak. No. To demonstrate this openness and this humility is actually the greatest measure of strength. It's extraordinarily strong and courageous to demonstrate humility. So we often get that wrong. You can be strong without being forceful. You can be authoritative without being authoritarian. You can be decisive as a trust and inspire leader without being autocratic. You can still involve people. So, it's not a matter of the command and control is this strong leadership. No, trust and inspire is strong leadership. And command and control is becoming less and less relevant by the day. So that's the idea. So you want to avoid the opposite of the behavioral virtues that we want. So avoid the arrogance, instead go for humility. Avoid being cowardly, instead go for courage. Avoid being duplicitous, instead go for authenticity. Avoid being closed-minded, instead be open and transparent. Avoid assuming you know everything, and instead listen and show empathy. And avoid focusing on just delivering activities, and instead focus on delivering results and outcomes. Wow. So those are some of the contrasts, I would say. I'll give you one last one, is a command and control leader, command and control manager. They manage people and things, but they kind of view them almost together. And they're really, they just manage things, and they manage people the same way. A trust and inspire leader, by contrast, manages things and leads people. And so that's a far better way.
Wow.
Things don't have choice and autonomy and agency. People do. People don't want to be managed. They want to be led. So yes, let's get really good at managing things. And things includes inventories and schedules and finances and the numbers and the business. And, we got to manage things well. And we also need to lead people. But what we don't want to do is start to manage people as if they were things.
Of course.
And so that distinction is critical.
Stephen, this has been a lovely talk where hopefully we will love to have you here, hopefully in anytime soon here in Guatemala. Thank you very much for those words. I'm pretty sure that it will get to think people differently about leadership, about trust, and about having like a teamwork where you have to have specifically qualities, but of course you have to gain the trust of the people, and also have gain that the people should trust your leader in the way they're taking the team, or the way they're taking all the people. So thank you very much, Stephen, for this lovely talk. It has been really nice to meet you, and hopefully we're having you here back in Guatemala.
Thank you, Lorraine. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and I'm so excited to come back to Guatemala. It's a beautiful country with amazing people, and I'm excited to be with you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias, Stephen, por compartir con nosotros todo este contenido que sin lugar a duda pues ayudará muchísimo a motivar a diferentes personas, a motivar, por supuesto, a todos aquellos líderes que están tratando también de ser mejores personas, no solo para su equipo de trabajo, sino también para las personas que le rodean. Nuevamente queremos recordarles que se estará llevando a cabo el 10 de octubre en el Hotel Westin Camino Real la conferencia Trust and Inspire, y ustedes se pueden ganar, estamos regalando 5 pases dobles. Ustedes, por supuesto, se pueden ganar algunas de estas entradas, y para participar lo que tienen que hacer es etiquetar a una persona y dejar un comentario del porqué, de las razones por las cuales ustedes quieren asistir a esta conferencia, y por último, compartir también esta transmisión en sus redes sociales. Tienen hasta el 2 de octubre para participar, y para nosotros será un gusto tener a muchísimas personas ahí que quieran crecer también en este ámbito, por supuesto, de la confianza y el trabajo en equipo. Nosotros tenemos que llegar ya al final de esta transmisión. Muchísimas gracias por habernos acompañado. Mi nombre es Lorraine Quinto, y ha sido un gusto para mí poder estar compartiendo con todos ustedes estas increíbles noticias y esta charla que se estará presentando también en Invitados BI. Que tengan linda tarde.